Taught by Walpola Rahula. Let's go back. What's the exact title of this? Chapter 1 is The Buddhist Attitude of Mind. From this story, it is quite clear when Pukusate listened to the Buddha and understood his teaching, he did not know who was speaking to him or whose teaching it was. He saw truth. If the medicine is good, the disease will be cured. It is not necessary to know who prepared it or where it came from. Almost all religions are built on faith, rather blind faith, it would seem. Well, certainly for the masses, maybe. But in Buddhism, emphasis is laid on seeing, knowing, understanding, and not on faith or belief. As I've pointed out, there's a lot more universal, but some of the priests and stuff try to convince us that those things aren't as universal. The insight role of... In Buddhist text, there is the word saddha, Sanskrit sraddha, which is usually translated as faith or belief. But saddha is not faith as such, but rather confidence, born out of conviction. In popular Buddhism, and also in ordinary usage, in the text, the word saddha, it must be admitted, has an element of faith in the sense that it signifies devotion to the Buddha and the Dhamma teaching and the Sangha order. According to Asanga, the great Buddhist philosopher of the 4th century of the Common Era, Sraddha has 3 aspects: full and firm conviction that a thing is; 2. Serene joy at good qualities; and 3. Aspirations or wish to achieve an object in view. The question of belief arises when there is no seeing in every sense of the word. The moment you see, the question of belief disappears. If I tell you that I have a gem hidden in the folded palm of my hand, the question of belief arises because you do not see it yourself. But if I unclench my fist and show you the gem, then you see it for yourself, and the question of belief does not arise. So the phrase in ancient Buddhist text reads, realizing as one sees a gem, or a myrobalan fruit in the palm. And so the pilgrim Kamanita seems to have been inspired in the story of Pukusate. An arahant is a person who has liberated himself from all defilements and impurities, such as desire, hatred, ill will, ignorance, pride, conceit, etc. He has attained the 4th, or the highest and ultimate stage, in the realization of nirvana, and is full of wisdom, compassion, and such pure and noble qualities. Pukusati had attained, at the moment, only the 3rd stage, which is technically called anagama, never returner. The 2nd stage is called sakadagama, once returner. And the final stage is called satapanna, stream entrapped. A disciple of the Buddha named Musila takes another monk. Friend Savita, without devotion, faith, or belief, without liking or inclination, without hearsay or tradition, without considering apparent reasons, without delight in the speculations of opinions, I know, and in the speculations of opinions, I know, and see that the cessation of becoming is nirvana. And the Buddhists say, O bhikkhus, I say that the destruction of defilement and impurities is meant for a person who knows and who sees, and not for a person who does not know and does not see. It is always a question of knowing and seeing, and not that of believing. The teaching of the Buddha is qualified as ehe paseka, inviting you to come and see, but not to come and believe. The impressions used everywhere in Buddhist text referring to the persons who realized truth are the dustless and stainless eye of truth. Dhamma Kakku has arisen. He has seen truth, has attained truth, has known truth, has penetrated into truth, has crossed over doubt, is without wavering. Thus, with right wisdom, he sees as it is, yatha bhutan. With reference to his own enlightenment, the Buddha said, the eye was born, knowledge was born, wisdom was born, science was born, light was born. It is always seeing through knowledge or wisdom. Nana dasana, and not believing through faith. This was more and more appreciated at a time when Brahmanic orthodoxy intolerantly insisted on believing and accepting their tradition and authority as the only truth without question. Once a group of learned and well-known Brahmins went to see the Buddha and had a long discussion with him. One of the group, a Brahmin youth of 16 years of age, named Kapatika, considered by them all to be especially brilliant, put a question to the Buddha. And so we hear earlier in the thing, the faith or belief, hear the words Saddha is used in its ordinary popular sense of a devotion, faith, belief. Exceptionally brilliant mind put a question to the Buddha. Venerable Gautama, there are the ancient holy scriptures of the Brahmins, handed down along the lines by unbroken oral tradition of texts. With regard to them, Brahmins come to the absolute conclusion, this alone is truth, and everything else is false. Now what does the Venerable Gautama say about this? The Buddha inquired, among Brahmins, is there any one single Brahmin who claims that he personally knows and sees that this alone is truth and everything else is false? And, of course it's not like that. If you find absolute truth as a religion, it's going to confirm the truth and good, left and right in religions that you didn't even, and other philosophy and, secular philosophies and stuff like this that, no, you didn't see. No. Then it is like a line of a blind. It is like the line. Then it is like a line of a blind man. It is like a line of blind men, each holding on to the preceding one. The first one does not see, the middle one also does not see, and the last one also does not see. Thus it seems to me that the state of the Brahmins is like that of a line of blind men. Then the Buddha gave advice of extreme importance to the group of Brahmins. It is not proper for a wise man who protects truth to come to the conclusion, this alone is truth and everything else is false. Acts by the young Brahmin to explain the idea of maintaining or protecting truth. The Buddha said, a man has faith. If he says, this is my faith, so far as he maintains truth, but by that he cannot proceed to the absolute conclusion, this alone is truth and everything else is false. In other words, a man may believe what he likes, and he may say, I believe this, so far as he respects truth. But because of his belief or faith, he should not say that what he believes is alone the truth, and everything else is false. The Buddha says to be attached to one thing, to a certain view, and look down upon the others' views as inferior, this the wise men call a fetter. So what's note 1? Questioned the Buddha. Chanki Sutta, number 95 of M. Okay. Once the Buddha explained the doctrine of cause and effect to his disciples, and they said that they saw it and understood it clearly. Then the Buddha said, O bhikkhus, even this view, which is so pure and so clear, if you cling to it, if you fondle it, if you treasure it, if you are attached to it, then you do not understand that the teaching is similar to a raft, which is for crossing over and not for getting hold of. Elsewhere, the Buddha explains this most famous simile in which his teaching is compared to a raft for crossing over and not for getting hold of and carrying on one's back. O bhikkhus, a man is on a journey. He comes to a vast stretch of water. On this side, the shore is dangerous, but on the other, it is safe. On the other, it is safe and without danger. No boat goes to the other shore, which is safe and without danger. Nor is there any bridge for crossing over. He says to himself, this sea of water is vast, and the shore on the other side is full of danger. But on the other shore it is safe and without danger. No boat goes to the other side, nor is there a bridge for crossing over. It would be good, therefore, if I would gather grass, wood, branches, and leaves to make a raft, and with the help of this raft, cross over safely to the other side, exerting myself with my hands and feet. Then that man, O bhikkhus, gathers grass, wood, branches, and leaves, and makes a raft, and with the help of that raft crosses over safely to the other side, exerting himself with his hands and feet. Having crossed over and got to the other side, he thinks, this raft was of a great help to me. With its aid, I have crossed over safely to this side, exerting myself with my hands and feet. It would be good if I carry this raft on my head or on my back wherever I go. What do you think, O bhikkhus? If he acted in this way, would that man be acting properly with regard to the raft? No, sir. In which way, then, would he be acting properly with regards to the raft? Having crossed and gone over to the other side, suppose that man should think, this raft was a great help to me. With its aid, I have crossed safely over to this side, exerting myself with my hands and feet. It would be good if I beached this raft on the shore, or moored it, and left it afloat. And then he went on my way, wherever it may be. Acting this way, would that man act properly with regard to that raft? In the same manner, O bhikkhus, I have taught a doctrine similar to a raft, for it is for crossing over, and not for carrying, literally getting a hold of. You, O bhikkhus, who understand that teaching is similar to a raft and should give up even good things, Dhamma, how much more, then, should you give up evil things, Adhamma? From this parable, it is quite clear that the Buddha's teaching is meant to carry man to safety, peace, happiness, tranquility, the attainment of nirvana. The whole doctrine taught by the Buddha leads to this end. He did not say things just to satisfy intellectual curiosity. He was a practical teacher and taught only the things which would bring peace and happiness to man. Well, only is a question, considering some of what's been put through the tradition, but look at that. He, like, a good sage, would follow the example of the prophets in the way of, or be like them in the way of saying, hey, I came with teachings, I came with examples, or maybe there's some artistic style or something you like, but me, it's not me. Don't just float on me, don't just put up me as some sort of idol. Use what I came with, right? The Buddha was once staying in a Simsapa forest at Kosambi, near Allahabad. He took a few leaves into his hand and asked his disciples, what do you think, O bhikkhus? Which is more, these few leaves in my hand, are the leaves in the forest over here? Sir, very few are these leaves in the hands of the Blessed One. But indeed the leaves in the Simsapa forest over here are very much more abundant. Even so, bhikkhus, of what I've known, I've told you only a little, and what I've not told you is very much more. And why have I not told you those things? Because that is not useful, not leading to nirvana. That is because why I have not told you those things. It is futile, as some scholars vainly try to do, for us to speculate on what the Buddha knew, but did not tell us. The Buddha was not interested in discussing unnecessary metaphysical questions, which are purely speculative, which create imaginary problems. He considered them as a wilderness of opinions. It seems that there were some among his own disciples who did not appreciate this attitude of his, for we have the example of one of them, Malunkyaputta by name, who put to the Buddha 10 well-known classical questions on metaphysical problems and demanded answers. Dhamma here, according to the commentary, means high spiritual attainments as well as pure views and ideas. Attachment even to these, however high and pure they may be, should be given up. How much more than should be given with regard to evil and bad things? Given up. It's, you become of a character, but your deeds are your deeds. They've been done. You try to do the best next time, and you move on. You don't, look at what I did back then. It's like the reminders of charity, undoing charity. It's like you think the poor who are helped out want to hear all the time, oh, look at how much of a help I was for you and all this other stuff. It's like, you want to be charitable or you want me to praise you? One day, Malunkyaputta got up from his afternoon meditation, went to the Buddha, saluted him, sat on one side, and said, Sir, when I was all alone meditating, this thought occurred to me. There are these 9 problems, unexplained, put aside and rejected by the Blessed One. Namely, 1. Is the universe eternal? Or 2. Is it not eternal? 3. Is the universe finite? 4. Or is it infinite? 5. Is the soul the same as the body? Or 6. Is the soul one thing and the body another thing? 7. Does the Tathagata exist after death? Or 8. Does he not exist after death? Or 9. Does he both at the same time exist and not exist after death? Or 10. Does he both at the same time not exist and not exist? These problems the Blessed One does not explain to me. This attitude does not please me. I do not appreciate it. I will go to the Blessed One and ask him about this matter. If the Blessed One explains this to me, then I will continue to follow the holy life under him. If he does not explain them, I will leave the order and go away. If the Blessed One knows the universe is eternal, let him explain it to me so. If the Blessed One knows that the universe is not eternal, let him say so. If the Blessed One does not know whether the universe is eternal or not, etc., then for a person who does not know, it is as straightforward to say, I do not know, I do not see. The Buddha's reply to Malunkyaputta should do good to many millions in the world today who are wasting valuable time on such metaphysical questions and unnecessarily disturbing their peace of mind. Well, baseless speculation, of any issue, is a serious hindrance. Did I ever tell you, Malunkyaputta, come, Malunkyaputta, lead the holy life under me. I will explain these questions to you. No, sir. Then, Malunkyaputta, even you, did you tell me, sir, I will lead the holy life under the Blessed One, and the Blessed One will explain these questions to me? No, sir. Even now, Malunkyaputta, I do not tell you. Come and lead the holy life under me. I will explain these questions to you. And you do not tell me either. Sir, I will lead the holy life under the Blessed One, and he will explain these questions to me. Under these circumstances, you foolish one, who refuses whom? Malunkyaputta, if anyone says, I will not lead the holy life under the Blessed One until he explains these questions, he may die with these questions unanswered by the Tathagata. Suppose, Malunkyaputta, a man is wounded by a poisoned arrow, and his friends and relatives bring him to a surgeon. Suppose the man should then say, I will not let this arrow be taken out until I know who shot me, whether he is a Kshatriya of the warrior class, or a Brahmana of the priestly class, or a Vaisya of the trading and agricultural caste, or a Sudra of the low caste. What his name and family may be, whether he is tall, short, or of medium stature, whether his complexion is black, brown, or golden, from which village, town, or city he comes, I will not let this arrow be taken out until I know that the kind of bow with which I was shot, the kind of bowstring used, the type of arrow, what sort of feather was used on the arrow, and with what kind of material the point of the arrow was made. Malunkyaputta, the man, would die without knowing any of these things. Even so, Malunkyaputta, if anyone says, I will not follow the holy life under the Blessed One until he answers these questions, such as whether the universe is eternal or not, etc., he would die with these questions unanswered by the Tathagata. Yeah, don't, the answers that come aren't merely the answers that you say, oh, I want these answers. Give me these answers. And if you don't get these answers, then the Buddha explains to Malunkyaputta that the holy life does not depend on these views. Whatever opinion one may have about these problems, there is birth, old age, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, distress, the cessation of which, i.e., nirvana, I declare in this very life. Therefore, Malunkyaputta, bear in mind what I have explained as explained, and what I have not explained as unexplained. What are the things that I have not explained, whether the universe is eternal or not, etc.? Those 10 opinions I've not explained. Why, Malunkyaputta, have I not explained them? Because it is not useful. It is not fundamentally connected with the spiritual holy life. It is not conducive to aversion, detachment, cessation, tranquility, deep penetration, full realization, nirvana. That is why I have not told you about them. Well, there's evidence that he did believe in a God and stuff like that, but definitely being careful to not formulate doctrines was the case with every prophet. People have questions for Muhammad, and he's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to give you my own opinion on this. Then, what, Malunkyaputta, have I explained? I have explained dukkha, the arising of dukkha, the cessation of dukkha, and the way leading to cessation of dukkha. Why, Malunkyaputta, have I explained them? Because it is useful. It is fundamentally connected with the spiritual holy life. It is conducive to aversion, detachment, cessation, tranquility, deep penetration, full realization, nirvana. Therefore, I have explained them. Let us now examine the Four Noble Truths, which the Buddha told Malunkyaputta he had explained. These Four Noble Truths are explained in the next 4 chapters. It seems that this advice of the Buddha had the desired effect on Malunkyaputta, because elsewhere he's reported to have approached the Buddha again for instruction, following which he became an arahant. And so the basic form of Buddhism is the, it's to break our suffering. Suffering is different than difficulty. Discontent is a proper word for what we are talking about here. So our detachment from the results, but that doesn't mean, we stop activity and all this other stuff, and you got to go between things. And so you must connect your spiritual life. And let me see these. The universe is not eternal. But, what created the universe would be eternal. The universe is not infinite. There's certainly everything we can look at. No matter how much bigger we find out that the universe is, it just doesn't make sense for there to be a limit to it. Even if we say that the universe, the known universe, how far, it's really really big across. I don't know, what, 20 light years across, something. 13.7 was what it was at some point, and now they said 22 or whatever they calculated it to. There's certainly reasons that even if it's part of a even if it's the universe is a multiverse and this is just one fragment of it, there's, you know, we have all indications that the universe would be finite. The soul and the body, well, the body can be left behind and there's going to be no real difference, so therefore there should be some sort of detachment. So the soul and the body are not the same thing. And the soul and the body being, you know, we can think of ourselves having multiple bodies, and the, you know, we see this physical one, but, you know, the soul would be what would be beyond that, that operates these things. But being a non-self, yeah, it's not just, it's, here it is, and this is what it's going to be forever. You know, there's definitely changes that happen to this identity that we have. Identity is a thing of the mind, I guess you would say that. And death it's a process. But let's concern ourselves with this life. And so what role does the sage, or maybe even a prophet figure, Kokifel or something, Ezekiel, as some people would say, would this sort of figure, you know, how does this matter in terms of our life here, whether or not we have an afterlife? That could be said to be the most important thing, but, you know, the body doesn't exist, obviously. It changes the point, or you could say it changes the point of not being useful in the sense of anything that we can live in. Or he does both at the same time, exist and not exist after death. Well, certain things strip off. We have our false egos and all sorts of other things that maybe we cling to them in life, but we can't cling to them anymore. So, satisfaction. In Islam, the dissatisfaction with one's fate is shirk al-kafi. Is that what it's called? The inconspicuous, the hidden misassociation? Is that it's not saying that you can't, you know, that you're not on your knees at night with your hands up saying, you know, relieve me, relieve me, relieve me. Even on the way to the bathroom, you know, please God, you know, whatever, however one would say it. You don't have to suffer any difficulty, post-traumatic stress disorder, physical pain, whatever. That doesn't, difficulty and suffering are different issues, but saying, oh, I don't deserve this, or you know, well, okay, if you're made a victim, that's, but by fate, predestiny, I don't mean that we don't have choices. If how good and bad we are is something predestined, well, we choose that. Where we walk, almost entirely a choice. Well, a set of choices, obviously. How good and bad? Obviously. How much we earn? That could be a choice. We could choose poverty and living a good life, or we could choose the other. Your length of life. That's predestined. Sometimes making the right decision, you die earlier. Sometimes you make all the wrong decisions and you end up living longer. But there are some factors. It's like you can say, well, if doing this is going to, on average, cut back my lifetime. If I don't if I don't make a habit of getting up between dawn and sunrise, I'm going to live maybe 5 years less, 2 to 5 years, depending on the study. If I'm going to eat out of balance and all sorts of other stuff, am I going to not live as long? Yeah, most likely. Do you know how long you're going to go? No. But it's perfectly fine to live life in a cost and rewards hedonistic sort of way.